Shalom Rastafari, assalamu alaikum, peace to the kings and the queens and the earth. How's everybody doing this Friday? Happy Friday, Sabbath Eve. And I wanted to give a big shout out. There's a couple of Earth Strongs or birthdays today. My soldier down there in Buffalo, I got one down there, a couple people. Shout out to you, man. Happy Earth Strong. Keep on fighting that good fight. Hope your program goes well this weekend and tonight and over everything like that. So I appreciate you always being in my corner as well. I got a couple people who had some birthdays, Earth Strongs today too. So if you're listening, happy Earth Strong to you. Happy Friday Eve. And I hope you have a great day today. Today I'm gonna keep it simple. It's June. It is Men's Health Month also. So I also want to go into how Rastafari saved my life. How Rastafari saved my life. Well, the beginning journey really didn't start till around 2014 and 15. It was the second time that I was really into a zone, and it was probably this is going to be the 26th or 25th visit to Jamaica. And it was during the time when I was a little older, obviously not a kid anymore, not 18, and I wanted to really research my area again. I remember going to Jamaica and knowing that I'm booking the trip about, 5 months prior. So I started really just studying the Rastafari culture, studying the land of Jamaica, studying the history again, to refresh myself, to really know, me, my people, my cousins, my family, in a place that I had frequented all my life from the age of 2 to 18, spending pretty much a few weeks there every summer. So I got into that and I found out the basis on a basic level. Obviously, I wanted to know more about King Selassie I, and that's when it kind of really honed in, when I started really, reading and going over the history of Ethiopia and the history of Jamaica and the relationship with Rastafari, how it coexists. And it really became a situation where this pretty much described who I am as a person, if that makes sense. Rastafari pretty much was me. And most people who follow the Rastafari faith, most of us, we have a somewhat of a religious basis that we start off with to get us to this Rastafari faith, whether it be, I think Chronix, a amazing reggae artist, liberator, revolutionist, who on an interview talked about him becoming Rastafari, and his upbringing was he was in the Baptist church and he was just looking around and certain things just did not make sense. And that's the same way I came up. I remember really being somewhat, really revolting against the church toward my teenage years, because it just was that basic, non-stimulating, old school, talk about stuff or say stuff in the pulpit that doesn't make sense in talks. And it just, you know what I mean? I was not stimulated at all. And I just remember having questions to where I was 15 and 16, like, this is just, something's not right. Like, looking, no one, and also I'm not saying it's the church's fault, because I had great deacons who raised me up, but to me, I showed that I was almost on a conscious level more than they are, because no one just had the wherewithal to tell me, hey, the Bible is a little bit changed and these things are kind of Shakespearean and these are kind of like visions and stories to help you out in the future. Now, they might not go this way because it might have been changed and da. No one told me that, right? Because they're just like, it's the Bible, it's the Bible. And anybody who in the Baptist faith, they don't want to go over how many times the Bible or any one of these books have been changed, and how it was also used as a slavery weapon. Like, they weaponized religion and put us in a situation of mental slavery with this religion basis. And when we took it back, it wasn't even like if we took it back, we just kind of identified it. And so things just did not make sense for me during that time period. And so I kind of stepped away from, religion in college, really. I was reading the Bible. I never went to church. And then when we got to the league and NFL, I started really getting back into it, because we had Bible class. We had people who would lead Bible class and stuff like that. So I kind of got into it more and definitely prayed in it, and definitely had my, a different focus, especially in 2005. But how this affected my lifestyle, and basically going to the situation of how it happened. I remember reading more in 2013 and 14 And of course, the cannabis situation was coming into it, but I also did not have locks, right? And I also was eating meat and drinking alcohol. So I was really kind of studying, but I was somewhat saying Rasta. But, when I look back on it, drinking Hennessy, eating meat, and that was not Rasta. I was just learning about it. And when I got to Jamaica the first time, I think was it 2015, I believe, I felt it. I felt it just in that presence. I felt it when I hit the island. I felt it in the music, reggae music and One Drop and any kind of Rastafari. It's basically like gospel music, and we all know that. It is a calm, basically calm gospel music with a message that teaches you about this Babylonian system and this system that we were against. And once I figured out, because I knew I was different, I knew I didn't want to work or be in the specific pain, realms of Babylon or government, because I just don't trust it. So when I got to a point of the overconsciousness, when I got back to Buffalo from Texas after going to Jamaica twice, and really, getting to that realm, and I almost lost it, right? Because I was kind of studying it, I was reading it. I remember reading my first book from one of my teachers, Rasa Adonis. It was a basic Rastafari book, and I actually gave this book out to a friend named Trevor, but I'm quite sure he threw it in the trash or gave it to somebody else. But it's okay, because those things I can buy again. I read it 3 times. So if you choose to take that gift and probably not read it, well, I just gave you probably the basis of this Rastafari faith, and you threw it away. But anyway, I read about it and I was doing things like that. And then once I got to the consciousness being back in Buffalo, that's when I internally started doing better. I started honoring the Sabbath. I started letting my hair grow. And by December 29th, 2018 was the last time I had chicken fingers. So I became cold turkey vegan. Actually was vegetarian for a little bit and then vegan. Vegetarian probably for 6 months and then vegan after that. But I really wanted to not just call myself Rasta, but I wanted to live that lifestyle. And I wanted to get to the Rastafari. I don't think if you understand that there's a different consciousness level. Now, the basis of this Rastafari faith, when you go to the Ethiopian, they'll say, okay, what's the Ethiopian, Orthodox Christian church? And that's the basis of it. King Selassie the first, while he was, pretty much revered in our lifestyles, because of the fact that he was trying, and he did, to translate the Bible back to the terms of where it was before. That Amharic, I have Amharic language tattooed on my hand. That is the same language that was spoken by our prophets, excluding Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ. And also combining that knowledge with other books, reading the Book of Maccabee, reading the Fetih Nagast, reading the Quran, reading anything that is basically in our African-based. And people say, well, African-based, Quran is da-da-da. Yeah, Muhammad gave that literature. And Muhammad was to give that literature to everybody, right? So if the book is about one God and that one God of faith, then we should read it. I have books that are indigenous that talk about the one creator, that is the one God faith. Overstand. So when it comes to the Bible also talks about the one God faith too, but we have to be careful what we read out of that. Rastafari saved my life because it put me in that structure form, that militancy form, that way of, it's okay to reject world standards. It's okay to wear your locks. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be fully who you are as a person. Notice I'm not even talking about cannabis. Again, when I bang Rastafari, cannabis is like the least of our worries. We are into herbs, and natural healing, and cannabis is part of that. That is it. I am tired of the Rastafari colors and faith always being attached to cannabis when 65% of us don't even smoke that stuff. You don't even know we steam. Sometimes people, there's a difference. There's a difference between steaming natural herbs and then smoking cannabis. And if you can understand that, you know what I'm talking about. Again, it saved my life. It gave me a self-identity. I have my notes here. It gave me a self-identity. It gave me a structure. It gave me militancy. I think that we are Rastafari to a certain degree. And it gave me just an overall being, because I knew that past that, my mom was extremely religious. She taught Sunday school. She taught classes all through the Baptist church. So I knew that that was going to be in me, a passion of God. And I love God, obviously. He's the one creates everything. And without him, I'm not here. But I had to really get to a point of what entity or what religion was I going to go to. And Rastafari is not a religion, it's a lifestyle. So you have no religion. You understand? The religion is a more basis of we honor the Sabbath. It's more Hebraic. You know, it could be Islam too, because we could say Assalamu alaikum or Shalom alaikum, or you know what I mean. We say those things. We say Shalom alaikum. That's almost like a Hebrew combination with Amharic. So we, in my camp, obviously, we read the Bible, but we also read the Quran. We honor the Quran. We honor our brothers who are on the Nation of Islam. We honor anybody who's on that one God form. And we also keep our roots the way we want to. Doesn't mean that yours are wrong, right? If you have a one God form, you can do whatever you feel. We can get into the truths and we can get into the non-truths. But ultimately, if you believe in that one God, that one creator, that one person, right? And people are like, well, there's the trilogy. The trilogy really is you as a person, the one God, right? And then the earth, right? People like to say, well, it's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is your brother. Okay, Jesus Christ is just like a person who is just like the other. He is above a lot. He is Messiah-like. He is Christ-like in his kingly character. That's how. But there are numerous people who are like Messiahs, right? Jesus is the number one. Jesus is the man, but so is Moses, and he will tell you that. Jesus told you that out of his mouth. Do not pray to me. Pray to my Father. So part of that trilogy really is you and God and Jesus, which is the example of the human form. Then the one God, and then the universe. That is a trilogy. Because in all three, the form is all created under one God. So we are part of a one God system, but we are all unique in our way, and we can all be Christ-like. We can all do things. People didn't really understand when Jesus was like, I let the blind see, right? The deaf to hear and the blind to see. You can do that with a voice and a specific tone and specific ways to talk. You can make a person who did not hear what you were saying before listen to you like it was nothing. You can have a person who did not see what you were saying before and see your lifestyle and see who you are. You can now let them see. That is what I'm talking about. You are opening eyes. My eyes have been opened through Rastafari, and my ears have been opened through the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and my teachers that I listen to all the time. So we all have that Messiah-like miracles, and Jesus Christos taught us this, right? So I'm not going to get into that because I can talk about this. I can rant about this all day. It's Friday, and I love you guys. I just wanted to come on here real quick, do a quick little podcast, keep it going. Rastafari has saved my life. If you have any questions, please do ask me. You know, there's no right way. You know, I've stopped calling out the fake Rastas because, you know, whatever. They know who they are, and it's just funny. They just like to be called out. It's the disciplined lifestyle. I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but if you're eating chicken wings off the bone and drinking liquor and smoking weed and saying you're Rasta, you're far from it. You're doing everything worldly and then calling yourself Rasta because of the look. All right? But if you haven't read any kind of literature, if you haven't put this thing on a whole spiritual level, and even with food, and even what you ingest, then you got a long way to go. I'm not saying there's some Rastas who eat fish. I get it. But in my opinion, in my camp, and what I do, I mean, I'm not going to say you can't call yourself. You can call yourself whatever, because in this day and age, you can call yourself whatever. You can call yourself a female, and just because you felt that way. So in this day and age, I digress and be like, you can be who you are, whatever. Who am I to judge? But in my camp, in my household, in my pride, this is how we getting down. Rastafari, love y'all. Happy Good Friday.